Before I landed in Kenya, I thought I was ready. I traveled solo before to Vietnam, Morocco, even parts of Europe. But Kenya surprised me in ways I couldn't Google. This isn't a guidebook. This is what I wish someone had told me before I went. And what I learned the hard, beautiful, and unforgettable way. Today I will describe why I went to Kenya, what cities or areas I visited, and what I was doing there for the first time. So one, just to preface it all, yes, I was nervous, yes, I was excited, and no, I was not overconfident, but I learned confidence through this trip. So why did I go to Kenya? I went because I have always wanted to be in the heart of Africa, and I have been to Morocco, which is part of Africa, but I wanted to experience more of beautiful Africa, what Africa could offer, and there's obviously so much more than Kenya and then Morocco. I went to initially kind of understand myself, and typically I do that by helping others, and helping others usually is what we call volunteering. I didn't set out to go volunteer, but I did set out to go and help people. So I landed in Nairobi, the capital of Kenya, and I decided I would find a person that I trusted, a kind of like host family, but I wasn't necessarily sure what I would do. And so I contacted a man, and he was like, cool, yeah, come through, like, what do you want to do? And I was like, I'm not sure. And so he's like, all right, like, we can go explore the area and then I can decide from there. And I was like, that's great. Usually I go through organized trips to volunteer, whether that's with a school or a church or another organization, but this time I didn't. Anyways, we are about an hour and a half, 2 hours from Nairobi proper, in the country side of things, and it was very different because it's not the city, it's the country, and it's not just country, it is country. Like, people don't have water, people are, I was gonna say riding cattle. They're not riding cattle, but they have cattle and they're using it to sustain their self through business or through nourishment of food. And people are not necessarily doing things that you would find in a city, like wearing fashionable clothes or caring about their appearance. It's just not top of mind. Anyways, I ended up volunteering. I saw many schools, I saw orphanages, I saw a prison, and I decided to help students. The students, I got to teach them whatever I wanted. I opted for computer science because I feel like it is difficult. Children can learn it, and it is helpful for our society. And so I taught that along with donating a lot of my time. We can go into that in a different video, but I had a lot of fun doing that, and I did that day in and day out, and was highly, highly, highly respected. I also did teach PE as well. So there's that. I was flexible. I wanted to touch on some etiquette and cultural observations. What was expected for women? Women were expected to be covered up most of the time. Even at the school I was volunteering at, which is a regular school, students barely had 10 cents, but they had to wear a uniform. Female and male had similar uniforms. In the real world, most people are wearing t-shirts and dresses, kind of like cloths. They're not necessarily by any, I feel like, name brand. It's just someone cut it up, someone sewed it, and they are wearing it. That is expected for women. I didn't wear anything skimpy or showing cleavage or any short shorts for the most part. Maybe I did have short shorts, but they're not like super short. That is acceptable in America. Another thing is if people greeted me in a certain way and the answer is they did, but I think it is partially due to my skin color, not because of other things. It was very apparent that I was not from their area or their country, and so I definitely was greeted a certain way. I don't know that they minded how I greeted them so much, but I will tell you in a moment the best way to greet people in Kenya. I was also in a rural area where they spoke a language that wasn't, what is the common language? It's slipping my mind right now. But the area that I was in, they spoke Kikuyu, which is a different language than what they speak in Kenya, which is, the common one is Swahili. So everyone kind of knows Swahili, but not necessarily everyone knows it. So in Swahili, you might hear a lot of jumbo and thank you, which is asante, karibu, welcome, sawa, fine. These are common phrases. Overall, I would say I was perceived really well as a foreigner. I was perceived okay as a woman as long as I had a man backing me up, and I always was near a man. And so if a local man respected me, was like, hey, this is Cherie, she's from America, my status went from here to here. And they were always extremely polite. I was perceived as someone who had I don't know if a ton of money is the word, but whatever they wanted, if I were to offer, they would just accept it. They're like opportunist. Everywhere I went, people were always kind of asking for money in slick ways. So like, one of the cultural things they do is bargain, for example. And so if I bargained, it would be strange for them because it is part of the culture. But I am a great bargainer because it's also in my culture. But I'm bargaining in Chinese, for example, and not in Swahili. And so people don't necessarily expect that. They expect me to pay full value, typically 100 or 200 above asking price. For example, for those of you that understand bargaining, or don't. If they're asking me for a scarf for 200 dirhams, then did I confuse the currency? Shillings, sorry about that. Dirhams is Morocco. 200 shillings, then it's around like $200. The actual price is typically going to be anywhere from 20 shillings to maybe 100. And so I would do my research and I would know how much things cost before I asked for them, which is not something they would expect, because they do expect foreigners to be kind of richer, if not richer than them. So it was ask for more money when buying things. When my friends went to the market, they would kind of tell me to stay back just because it would increase their price. They're like, oh, you're with a foreigner, like, of course you have more money, and push that boundary. And then even when I went to the club to go running, people would be playing soccer and I would watch them and they're like, hey, if you could sponsor some of these kids, that would be great. If you could fly them to America, that'd be great. If you could enroll them into a college, they would be grateful. And there was this funny phrase that one of the coaches said that I found interesting, which was, we are people, we are men with a first world mindset in a third world country. I was like, okay. So they feel they have full potential, they're just not financially capable. And to some degree, I can see that. But don't let people push your buttons if you don't have the money or you don't want to assist, because you can't assist everyone. Just don't feel guilty about it. Just listen, though. Hearing the stories is really cool. So I would say as a foreigner, I was just treated really well. As a woman, I was treated okay, but I think overall, foreigner, mazungu, kind of derogatory, which is what I was called all the time. It's kind of above. I did experience submission from the person I was staying with's wife. One time I did come home and he was like, where's the food? It needs to be on the table when Cherie is back home. She's been working really hard. It needs to be here immediately. And I was like, it's fine, I'm not hungry or anything, but I guess it is a showing of like care and love when someone, a woman, has food on the table ready immediately. And it was just an interesting feeling. I felt like I've always, coming from like an Asian background where the woman is serving the man, to be all of a sudden served, it was very, I think, one, I felt for the woman, but then two, I felt like this was a lot of respect given to me. Respect in the sense that, like, I felt like I was treated like the president or something. My food was always, after that, served on time. My laundry was always hand washed and like done immediately, and so much more. It was an interesting experience, and there's more privilege in the world than I realize. But yeah, I would say perceive well, and I would just recommend not dressing like super less. Don't wear like too little. People will stare and people might take it the wrong way just because it's not part of the culture. So some really quick do's and don'ts. Do greet people when you remember, when you can, right? Like habari or sasa, jumbo. They're gonna know you're a foreigner, and that's just a common phrase for hello. I would say don't assume everyone speaks English, even though most people do in like the big cities. In the countries, they mainly know the tribal language of their mother and father. And so they're typically going to be more comfortable with that. You have some leeway if you are not the same skin color as them. Another do that typically is common is to ask locals for help. I don't know that. Like, I think they'll be happy to help you, but I don't always know their intentions, and I don't want to say that it's bad, but I would say, like, be cautious and maybe even err on the side of asking police sometimes. There is a lot of corruption, but I do believe that at the time I was there, police were afraid of people of power being more corrupt to a certain degree. Like, there is corruption there, and you can see it all the time, but the police feel that foreigners have more money than their government sometimes, and they don't want to get in trouble like that. So there's that. Transportation, public transportation, I wouldn't recommend it unless you are with a local and or know the language. I've taken it a few times, and only because I was with a local. It is so much cheaper. Like, transportation for a foreigner is going to be into the town, maybe like, I feel like it was $7 or 7 sterling, something like that. Oh no, yeah, it's like 7.70 sterling or something. It's still low. It's like $5 or something, but the locals, they pay like 70 shillings. I feel like that translates to like 7 cents or something, or 70 cents, but it was very low. And there is a population limit in the car, but people are hanging outside the car because they just want the money. Same thing with markets. Like, if you're a foreigner, you're not really going to be bargaining. You're going to be, one, they're going to encourage you to go to their booth, and two, they're going to try and like upsell. Not just upsell, they're going to like upsell times 200 to 1,000%. And yeah, safety, don't go out at night if you can help it. If you're a female, go with another male or female. But I think overall it is fairly safe. A lot of people are walking around at night because it is a kind of third world country, and there isn't any like public light, for example. So it's not uncommon for people to walk around, but it is very dusty, and maybe not something one might be used to from America. So I expected to learn about Kenya when I got there, but instead I did learn a lot about myself, being seen as both an outsider and sometimes a public figure to some degree. I think I was the only Chinese person I saw the whole time I was there, and I know China does help out with infrastructure in Kenya, so people just, they regarded me highly as a foreigner with money, but also they regarded me highly as, I don't know if it's regarded highly, but my skin definitely drew attention to me being female, and so people would be jokingly asking to marry me, or like I would always get waved at in a car. A lot of highs, a lot of winks, a lot of hellos. And that was that definitely boosts the ego a little bit, I will say. I wish more people were like that. Maybe it's like that in the South a little bit. And so it wasn't always easy if you don't like the attention, but there's a fine line, and I think I became more confident. In conclusion, if you're thinking about going to Kenya, you should go, but with eyes wide open and an open heart. People are really nice. You just have to find the right people. The majority of them are kind, and at the same time, they want to scam you. And I mean that in the nicest way. I think if this kind of resonates, or like you're hoping to have other tips because you're thinking about going there, definitely drop a comment down below. But it was really fun, and I think no one really tells you that all eyes will be on you, and you will potentially gain more confidence. So, I hope you enjoy that. Have a great day.